Hello everybody and welcome back to QuipScope. It's a show where we look at a new game, what has come out. My name is Ben.
And my name is Peter.
Peter, it's a very exciting time in the Star Wars universe.
It is.
You've got the Mandalorian.
Yes.
You've got the Mandarin.
Yeah.
The delicious Clementine.
Yes. Tasty.
You've got the new film coming out.
Yeah.
It's all kicking off.
But before then, we've got a new Star Wars game to play as well.
Crazy. Their last one didn't go so hot, did it, for EA?
You mean, Star Wars Battlefront 2?
Yes.
Yeah.
A little bit of scandal confirmed, that one.
It was, yeah. And it was they were doing so well right up until about 2 weeks before release. And they were like, by the way,
it's going to be a train crash.
Yeah.
So this new one, Jedi Fallen Order.
Yes.
It comes to us from Respawn Entertainment, who did Titanfall and Apex, formerly primarily, I would imagine, ex-Infinity Ward staffers from the Activision days. They're a good studio.
They are.
I've heard great things about this video game.
Yeah.
Peter, tell me about it.
It's a single player. I wouldn't even say linear. People are saying, oh, it's nice to have a single player linear Star Wars game. It's not linear, actually. It's a single player action adventure Star Wars game. Third person. You play as a Jedi who is part of the Fallen Order. So chronologically, in terms of the Star Wars timeline, it's set between episodes 3 and 4. So that means it's set after Order 66, which is when the evil Emperor has, for those of you who don't know, instructed his clone army to kill all of the Jedi, and hardly anyone survives. In the film, we see Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda survive, as well as Luke and Leia as babies, and not really anyone else. But it is implied that there are still a few other Jedi out there who have survived. Obi-Wan actually goes to the Jedi Temple and leaves a message beaming out to the Jedi saying, everyone stay away, the clones are killing everyone.
Walk in single file to hide your numbers.
Please, yeah, absolutely. So in this game we play as Cal Kestis.
Quick question about Cal Kestis.
Yes.
Why does he look like Chris Pine?
I don't know. He's played by Cameron Monaghan from Gotham.
Oh, I don't know who that is.
Oh, and
he looks like a Cameron though.
Yeah,
if it's facially captured.
Yeah, I don't really like the way he looks for some reason.
A lot of people don't.
There's something about him. He kind of looks to me like the kid who bullies other kids in school because he got bullied when he was younger.
Right.
Yeah.
I think he looks like he's good at football.
Yeah.
I think he's really good at football.
He reminds me of Jimmy Hopkins from Bully.
Right,
who was also a bit of an arsehole, even though he was supposed to be a protagonist.
He doesn't seem super likable. I'm sure you'll go into this anyway, but it does strike me as kind of odd that in the huge, expansive universe of Star Wars, this is the guy. This is who you can...
Guy,
because
the
surely...
kid.
I mean, you don't... Here's the thing, right? Facial capture is important.
Yeah.
But I feel like they could have done some minor cosmetic customization options, perhaps.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm glad I'm not the only one. Because I've not looked at the reception of the guy's face online.
You are far from alone.
I was sitting at home thinking, there's something about the way this guy looks that I don't know.
Why is this Johnny Handsome Man? Why am I playing as Johnny Generic Handsome Man?
Yeah, well, he's not even that handsome. I wouldn't.
You don't think he's not your type, is he?
No, he's not. He's not.
Good flips though.
Yeah. Anyway, you play as good flips, weird face Cal Kestis, who was a Jedi Padawan in the years before it all went to plops. It's around 5 years since Order 66, and he's now actually just working on a scrapper planet where they have all these crashed clone ships and separatist ships from the Clone Wars, and they're sort of taking them apart for the Empire. So the Empire are just salvaging. He's a salvage yard worker, essentially.
Right.
You got a friend called Prauf, who's an alien man.
Oh, I like that.
Prauf
sounds like he's from Wales.
Yeah, he's this sort of big, bulky guy. He kind of reminds me of Sully from Uncharted.
Okay.
And there are actually a lot of Uncharted sort of parallels. It feels a lot like an Uncharted game. This game is essentially 1 part Uncharted to 2 parts Soulsborne with Star Wars paint.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's a good combination.
It is. So you and Prouf chopping up ships on your salvage planet.
You're going to say something else then.
Right.
Just chopping up the plops.
Chopping up the plops. And this is like first 10 minutes of the game. Spoilers here. Prouf falls off the ship that you're on, and he's going to fall into the mouth of this big monster that's, according to the game, superficially similar to the Sarlacc from...
the inescapable suck pit.
Yeah, except it's apparently a different species. And Cal sort of instinctively uses the Force to save him. So he pulls him away and rescues him. Unfortunately, the Empire's Inquisitors are able to detect that.
Bloody Inquisitors.
And they come for him. So the Inquisitors turn up, who are actually... They've already had some screen time in the further expanded universe.
Okay.
And essentially you have to escape from them. And as you're running away, a ship pulls up, piloted by Grease Dritus.
That's a good Star Wars name.
It is. It's the Mantis, this ship. But more importantly, on the ship is, I think it's pronounced Cere Junda. I've actually forgotten how to pronounce it. It's spelled Cere.
Right.
But I've only played the game in 1 or 2 sittings.
Okay.
But so they rescue you, and from that point on, Cere is a former Jedi, and she sort of sends you on a quest with your little BD-1 robot, the little shoulder friend.
Yes.
You've seen from the trailers, to try and get inside a Jedi temple on a planet that inside contains a Jedi holocron, which you may remember as well from other material.
I'm familiar with the term. Why is that significant?
It's essentially just information storage, but it can only be opened by a Force user. And this holocron contains...
a really good recipe for something.
Yes. It contains the known locations of Force-sensitive younglings, so essentially the next generation of Jedi. So you have to then sort of work out how to get into this temple, following a trail left by... a Jedi who before Order 66 was trying to get in there, or in fact no, he put it in there and left it in there for post Order 66. So that's the story.
Okay, that's intriguing.
Yeah, there's
I'm
more
intrigued.
to it than that, of course, but I don't want to spoil too much. But it just fits so well with the universe as we know it. So I'm currently on my playthrough looking out for the Wookiee who was in Revenge of the Sith, who wasn't Chewbacca.
Oh, the other one.
The one with the dreads.
Yes, I know.
It was called Tarful or Traful or Trifle.
Trifle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, they obviously didn't want to like throw in Chewbacca, just be really on the... He might be in there later on, but they didn't want to be on the nose and be like, it's Chewbacca from the Star Wars films.
Chewbacca's an easy one because he doesn't really... He has a character, but he doesn't... That you can rarely disagree with what he does. Like,
True.
That's unlike Chewbacca
he
to
wouldn't
do that.
do that. He would never say that. He would say... But yeah, Tarful, I think he's called, is in there.
Okay.
So it's just these little nods that tie it in, but not too much.
That's nice.
Right.
It's like what made Rogue One so good.
Exactly.
In that it existed on the fringe of the Star Wars universe without having to rely on the big names.
Well, Saw Gerrera was in the Clone Wars claymation show.
Was he?
Yeah, I mean, for those who don't understand the reference, it's not a claymation show.
We should probably just promote that video because we reference it so much. Was it the Guide to the Races of the Star Wars?
Yeah, Guide to the Races of Star Wars, I think it's called.
By Neil Cicierega. It's very good.
So that's story and universe and narrative fairly extensively covered there.
Yes.
Gameplay-wise,
What?
Well, so it's doing pretty well online in terms of the way it's designed and the gameplay that's intended. And yes, I like the fact that it's got that kind of thoughtful combat. I know everyone makes the comparison all the time with any game that ever comes out now, but it is pretty Soulsborne, to be fair.
It's the Dark Souls of Star Wars.
It is the Dark Souls of Star Wars games. You've got a light, quick attack and a heavy attack.
You sort of focus on one person at a time.
Dodge roll, yeah.
Parry? You a parry?
You can parry. Even down to the point that there's like specific save points, which are kind of like bonfires. Like you find them around the world and you sit by them and meditate.
I've heard this. So this is so they all sort of act as bonfires, or I mean, lamps didn't do that in Bloodborne. You just teleported out and came back in, but you can sort of rest at these.
Yeah.
Does it refill any healing stuff?
Well,
or
so this
what
is
does
the
it give
thing. You can carry little stim packs, which you can use at any time, but you can only carry so many. But if you rest at these meditation points, you have the choice of hitting the square button, where you do go through this rest cycle where your force and health and everything will be refilled, but it will then respawn all the enemies.
Okay, so that's very Dark Souls.
Yeah.
And then presumably you can just sort of replay that ad nauseum to get XP and things?
I guess you could, yeah. You do level up and you have skill points. There's a skill tree for your, not just for force powers, but for combat abilities and things like health gauge and stuff like that. So this is also where you spend your skill points.
Yeah.
So yeah, I imagine if you wanted to grind, you could just sit there and rest, kill everyone, rest, kill everyone.
Yeah. I like having that option, especially in games that I mean, I know you said it's not linear necessarily, but games of this style that will allow you to train. You know, it makes sense in universe anyway that you would want to train, even if a magical not lantern that makes enemies reappear. You know, it doesn't exist, but there we go.
Well, that's why I also say it's non-linear, in that it's very Soulsborne in that respect, in that you have these really extensive maps that have all kinds of shortcuts that you unlock. Okay. So, you know, like in Soulsborne games, you will sort of find a lift that you can then will allow you to quickly get back to a certain place.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that I found in this game. You find little lifts and you chop down ropes so that like you can climb up and down from an area that you were at before. So in that respect, that feels very Dark Souls to me. I'm not particularly well versed in Dark Souls, but that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
The reason I hesitate when I said that it's good gameplay is that I'm fine with all that. I mean, personally, I think I'd rather play something more linear, but that's fine. The performance is not good.
Is it not?
Not really. It's not acceptable anyway. I don't think it's a disaster. It's not like WWE 2K, 2K20. But I've found that in some areas it's really chuggy. I've had like glitches where I've gone into animations at like a completely the wrong angle. So like the person I'm executing is like sort of flying up in the air, and I'm walking up a flat plane which is just in the air towards them to execute them.
Oh dear.
And I've had it if I run too quickly through like a set of tunnels or whatever and round the corner, the culling is like you can see that it wasn't rendering what was round the corner. And I've got round the corner just slightly too quickly for the game, and then suddenly, like, the world pops in. Also, all the cutscenes have that really annoying thing, which, for some reason, has almost become an acceptable thing now, where for the first frame of any camera angle, a bunch of objects just suddenly appear, or, like, move, or pop in. Yeah.
I don't know how that stuff doesn't come up.
I don't.
In testing.
But... And you know, you have level of detail like gradually appearing when the camera angle changes, and it's annoying because like it plays well in terms of the mechanics that they've chosen, but it just doesn't run well. I don't think, you know. As I say, it's not a complete disaster, but it is a little bit. I notice it.
That's such a shame.
It is a shame, and you know, I'm sure that within a few weeks they'll probably patch out a lot of these issues, but. It's just sad that they had to release it like that, and you know.
Yeah, that's a shame. I was going to ask, do you reckon it's something that's probably patchable?
I think so. It's all just like it feels like lots of little things, but yeah, it's a shame. I kind of wonder whether on PC it runs a lot better than console, maybe, or
I think
or
the
Pro.
reviews are better on PC than they are on console.
Yeah,
so that'd be interesting. I don't know if there's sort of an elevated Pro version, because some games just don't support sort of the two-tiered system. It's just, especially third-party games. They're just like, here you go, here's the game.
Yeah, but I do wonder if the console itself is just able to
maybe
handle it better.
Maybe. Be interesting. I'm probably not going to get it until around Christmas time anyway, so hopefully
patched a bit more by then.
Hopefully,
yeah. So that's the main downside. But otherwise, I think it's a good game, and there's a lot to it. As I say, like the levels are huge, but within that as well, there's a lot of collectathonic to do. None of it sort of feels necessary, I kind of feel like you could just whiz through the main campaign really quickly.
Right.
But if you want to explore the lore, there's this thing where there are force echoes everywhere. So he goes around, and if he touches an object, he can get a feeling for like, why is this here? Who was the last person to touch this? Sometimes he can actually hear dialogue in his head of like, like two people screaming and like, take the kids, run, I'll hold them back.
Oh my goodness.
Things like that.
Yeah.
On top of that, there are audio logs that you find occasionally, and when you go into a certain area or defeat a certain enemy, it adds lore notes into your pause menu.
How's the menu? Does it work?
I think the menu's pretty good. Yeah,
That's
the menu's
nice.
fine.
That's nice.
But so in terms of all that, there's a lot of sort of extra detail to the world that you can explore if you really want to go around and find all these force echoes and audio logs. If you defeat an enemy, it gives you a whole bio about them with a big picture of them, and tells you some combat tactics for how to defeat them. And then there's chests everywhere as well. There's like several dozen chests in every world where you get skins for Cal, skins for BD, for the ship. You get lightsaber parts, and you can customize your lightsaber in a workshop. You can also find little seeds on the ground that go into a terrarium on the ship. So that's just a complete sort of side mission. Is the pilot says, my terrarium's empty. If you find any seeds, we'll pop them in. And obviously you put them in there, and then when you return to the ship, they've grown a little bit, which is nice. So you sort of see how it's coming along.
So is the ship sort of a central hub kind of thing?
It is. It's like a warp zone, if you like. So
Okay.
you can revisit any planet that you've been to before, and you're going to have to, because you're unlocking force powers, particularly in the early game. You're unlocking push and pull, which will allow you to get through certain areas. BD needs an upgrade for me to unlock a certain set of chests and stuff that I've been encountering but can't open yet.
Yeah.
So you walk onto the ship, you can sort of catch up with your buddies, and then there's this map of planets that allows you to warp. And actually you go into hyperspace in real time. So you walk up to this map, you say, I want to go here, and then you're just allowed to carry on walking around the ship. And if you walk into the cockpit,
stuff is happening.
yeah,
around
you see the stars go around.
That's cool. Borderlands 3 does that as well. It's
Yeah.
nice. I really like that. I have one last question for you.
Yeah.
Are you? Does this game grab you? And I allow me to clarify. Because Star Wars Battlefront 2, for all its flaws, it did have a single-player campaign.
Yeah.
And I gave it a really good go, but it just did not hold my attention because the gameplay was kind of boring because
Right.
it was sort of just multiplayer shoved into a linear map.
Yeah.
And the story didn't really get going and wasn't really that interesting.
Bit forced.
Yeah.
even mention there's the quip.
quips, isn't it? So in spite of performance issues, and it happens to a lot of men, which is
Yeah.
fine. In spite of performance issues, does Jedi Fallen Order and its world grab you in a way that makes you want to keep playing because you want to find out what happens next, and you care about the characters that are there, and you just, you're willing to persevere through stuff that's not necessarily game breaking, but it is in another game perhaps it would detract enough from the experience where you wouldn't want to play it anymore.
Yeah, well, in answer to the way you worded that question, my answer would be yes. It's interesting. The glitches and stuff isn't affecting my desire to find out what happens in the story. But actually what is, to a certain extent, is the sort of Soulsborne nature of it. So I actually am playing, there's several difficulties, and one of them is just called story difficulty. So there's like Jedi Padawan, there's Jedi Knight, Jedi Master, and Jedi Master Supermaster or something.
Masturbator.
King, yeah, that's it. But the easiest one is called Story. And I popped it on that because I wanted to get ahead, because I'm also streaming this game.
Right.
And I didn't want to have to miss out on cutscenes and stuff while I'm streaming. So I wanted to get ahead. So I'm playing that on, and I'm trying to watch all the films, so I want to wait until I finish the game before I move on to the next movie.
Yeah.
However, difficulty aside, because story mode is really very easy actually, I'm not so much of a fan of the giant expansive levels actually. I'm finding that a bit of a slog in that you've got this map that you can open up with BD, and just looking at it makes me feel like, oh my god. Like, the chests don't show up on there, so I know there's a bunch of chests. I mean, that's if you're going for 100%, but even that aside, even just going for your sort of side objectives, you can just see this expansive area. I think the map is kind of clever and intuitive, but at the same time, it's not actually that easy to read. And the story is grabbing me. I really want to find out what happens next. And the glitches aren't bothering me as far as that's concerned.
Right.
But I do feel like it's going to be a bit of a... I'm going to have to put a lot of time into it just to get through these giant levels.
So it's a bit overwhelming.
It is, yeah, it's overwhelming. And you're passing... the level I've just finished, I was passing all these doors where I could see... Oh, I'm going to have to like blow that up with force push. I can see it's like a cracked wall, and it had blue edges. That means you can use the force on it. Right. But in fact, there were red edges, which means you don't have this force power yet. And I was like, I'm walking past all these offshoots, and I can't get through them yet, and I know I'm going to have to backtrack. Now, fortunately, I then unlocked force push at the end of the level, and they were actually for backtracking to get back to the start really easily. Okay. So they were just shortcuts. But it was that sense of like, you're walking past things and thinking, can't open that because I don't have BD's thing. That requires force pull. Yeah. And just sort of, it feels like you kind of have this to-do list in your head that is just, you can't keep track of, and you're like, I'm going to forget about some of this. And yeah, that's just a personal preference for genre, really, more than anything else.
I get that as well. Yeah. It harks back to sort of PS2 action adventure platforming games, Ratchet and Clank, that Jak and Daxter. You're walking through these levels and saying, "Oh, there's an egg up there." Oh God, now I've got to worry about that
you
egg
require
at
the
some
super
point.
boots to get up here.
Don't make me do work.
Yeah.
It's nice that it's got a Star Wars skin on it. I've heard from several people that they didn't enjoy Spider-Man as much as they would have otherwise done because of the amount of collectibles and side stuff.
Yeah.
And admittedly, if it had any other skin slapped on it, I probably wouldn't either. But it's just the fact that it's Spider-Man that carries it for me. So in the same way that...
it was like Assassin's Creed in a way, wasn't it?
Right.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, it was. But it had Spider-Man paint on it, so it's fine. But, it's good that you acknowledge that it's a personal preference, because there's a good chance that people who care enough about... I was going to say care enough about Star Wars. I know you care very much about Star Wars, but they'll see that and go, I don't mind. I don't mind going to do it because I'm doing it as the world's most generic man, Cal
Kestis.
Cal Kestis.
Yeah.
So it'll be for someone, I'm sure.
So, yeah, and I'm not enjoying it, if you'll pardon a double negative there. But yeah, and the story is interesting, and I really want to find out what happens and what's in the vault and who these people are. And I've also had a spoiler about a major character that's in it. So I'm at least looking forward to that happening, but I'm annoyed that I know that it's happening. This guy that I follow on YouTube, like, he uploaded 3 parts to his Let's Play, and the subtitles were getting my
such
object.
and such.
Yeah, and encountering this person. And then in the thumbnail, it has the person.
That's a dick move.
It is, because he's like normally really good at spoilers as well. He's like, I'm going to make sure I don't do anything.
You need to unsubscribe from that guy.
I have done.
Yeah, that's what you get.
At least for the time being.
Don't be an ass. Well, your live stream VOD will be up very soon.
It will.
So people can go and watch you play a couple of hours of that to get a better idea. And obviously, they're seeing gameplay of it right now.
Yeah.
Peter, do you have any closing remarks?
God, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. More like... Star Wars Jedi Fallen. Yeah. Who ordered the Uncharted Dark Souls game?
Oh, you did, because you bought it.
Yeah, that's me.
You did that.
Yeah.
Jedi Fallen Order, more like Jedi pick yourself back up order, because it's actually pretty good.
Yeah, it is pretty good.
Get up off the floor and have some self-respect, my dude.
Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, more like Star Wars Jedi. A fallen level of polish that they need to patch out.
Oh, so that's a good one.
Yeah, thanks.
Jedi Fallen Order, more like Jedi Fallen. Duh. Because you look at it and you go, that's great, and then duh is the noise that you imagine. One of the few noises that you imagine Cal Kestis uttered when he was at high school.
Yeah.
Just a duh. He looks like a guy who go duh to people.
He got so cocky. Sorry.
You just hate this guy.
He got so cocky after like the first proper outing, the first mission that he did.
Yeah.
He left the ship kind of like, okay, I'll do my best. I'll be back, guys. And then when he got back on the ship, he was like, yeah, okay. He walked right up to the kitchenette and like made himself a drink and was like, yeah, there we go. That's me. Sorted.
Look at my balls.
You're welcome, everyone. I was like, shut up.
God,
I don't like him.
There's I'm sorry to very quickly distract at the very end of this video. It's the longest QuipScope we've ever done.
God, well, you get me talking on Star Wars.
Well, no, it's all important stuff. But there's something that my friend and I quote to each other a lot. There was this PSP Star Wars game that I can't remember the name of.
Yeah.
You played as a lady woman, and I think she had what's the weird tentacle head people?
A Twi'lek.
A Twi'lek. Oh, just punched the table.
Some people say Twi'lek.
I think she was a Twi'lek.
Yeah.
And PSM3, a magazine I used to read, which is sadly now gone.
Yeah.
I was listening to their podcast, and they were talking about this game and the person who reviewed it, and they were talking about the main character, and the description that he gave was just, she's stupid and I hate her.
Oh,
and that was it. And that was just the description of this character of this Star Wars game that wasn't very good. And that kind of strikes me as, I get big Cal Kestis vibes from that.
Yeah.
Stupid and I hate her.
Yeah.
So
he's just a bit pasty and
who knows, you might unlock a beard at some point. You can put a beard on him.
One more thing I should add.
Yeah.
I am slightly concerned that EA might still, because there's all these cosmetic options, that might be where they start shilling on this.
But there's nothing in there at the moment.
No.
God,
so we will see.
It's going to happen.
Yeah, I think it might. But
we'll see. Peter, thank you very much for giving your thoughts.
Thank you for listening to them.
Pleasure.
Yeah.
My pleasure. And we'll see you, all of you next time on QuipScope.
Yeah, we will.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.